Well, for Virginia taxi driver Mohammed Salim, April 26 started off like any other day, picking up people and dropping them off at their destinations in the tri-state area. That was before the CEO of Emerald Aviation, Ed Dahlberg, entered the cab and asked for a ride. In the 11 minutes that ensued, Mohammed Salim says that he was subjected to an anti-Muslim tirade from this inebriated passenger before being physically harmed by the man. But Salim was quick on his feet. He pulled out his cell phone and recorded the entire encounter. He now wants Ed Dahlberg to be charged with a felony hate crime. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Salim is an Iraq war veteran who served as a linguist for our armed forces. Now, for the latest on this case, RT correspondent Margaret Howell joins me in the studio. Margaret, I just gave a very brief kind of analysis of what actually happened. Can you tell us a little bit more about the interaction between these men and how it got so heated?
I certainly can, Megan. So Mohammed Salim, taxi driver, was called to the Fairfax Country Club at 2 in the morning to pick up Ed Dahlberg. Now, Mr. Dahlberg, how I understand it, he had a beer in his hand and was clearly inebriated. Got into the taxi and began what was essentially an 11-minute anti-Muslim tirade of sorts, where he ended up physically punching his taxi driver. And I actually have a clip. Now, before I play it, let me add that Mohammed Salim essentially could feel that the tide was turning in a sense, and he needed to record what was about to happen, and he did so, capturing Ed Dahlberg's tirade on his phone. I brought a clip for you. Let's take a listen.
Sir, whatever you said is recorded.
I don't give a flying f***.
I'm going to call 911 right now.
Do you think that it was right for the
I'm going to call you right
to
now.
fly planes into the United States?
I'm going to call you to the police.
I don't give a f***.
Okay? Whatever you're saying is recorded. And now you're punching me? You're punching me.
Do you think it was proper for the United States?
Now you're punching me, right? You're punching me, right? Why are you punching me?
So, Megan, it was there for the world to see, you know, Mr. Mohammed Salim's horror, where he was essentially defenseless against Ed Dahlberg and at his mercy. And that was, you know, horrifying enough, but thank goodness he caught it on tape.
Absolutely, the tape is evidence. Now, as I understand it, the CEO was not actually arrested for several days. And when he was arrested, it's now being charged as a misdemeanor crime. What does Mr. Salim want to see happen with this man?
Certainly. Well, let me just backtrack there for a minute. So that's right. You are correct. The CEO has not been charged with a hate crime at this point. Now, when Mr. Salim actually told him that he was going to call the police, and this was after Mr. Dahlberg had hit him, Mr. Dahlberg then scampers into the woods. The police are called. They're able to retrieve Mr. Dahlberg's information from the dispatch, that phone number. They could trace it back to him. They show up at his house. His wife's there. He's not there. And it's only after the media picks up this story did the police actually charge him. This took a few days, and it's misdemeanor battery. It hasn't even been classified as a hate crime, which is remarkable.
So what's the current legal status of this case?
Well, you know, I talked to Mr. Salim's attorney today in length, Qadir Abbas, and he's saying that what they would like to come out of this, obviously, is that Mr. Dahlberg is charged with a hate crime. Like I said before, at this point, it's simple assault, misdemeanor battery charge, and they would like to see this classified because, you know, it's clearly caught on tape, you know, the actions of him labeling a group of people, Muslims, as terrorists, you know, something that wasn't in this tape, essentially. And I would like to first take you to a clip of the attorney, if you don't mind, and let's just hear what he has to say about this.
Mohammed even asks Mr. Dahlberg, "Are you prejudiced?" And Mr. Dahlberg replies in the affirmative, "Effing gay I am." And after the threat got made, Mohammed started to fear for his safety. And so he let Mr. Dahlberg know that he had been recording the whole time.
So, Megan, as you heard there, you know, if he hadn't been recording, goodness knows what would have happened in this case, certainly.
And, Margaret, as you just said, you talked to this attorney, and he says that he gets these cases all the time. What happens with them?
Isn't that remarkable, Megan? You know, he told me that he gets several calls of the similar situation where taxi drivers, typically Muslim, will have hate crimes committed against them, but they have no measure of recourse because, as you know, it's very hard to prove a hate crime. And, you know, if if Mr. Salim hadn't had that video recording, he would be in the same boat that other people who have these complaints are in.
And we have just a very short amount of time left, Margaret, but obviously a taxi driver job is a very dangerous job. Are there any other ways other than recording the police, other than recording these people that we can protect ourselves? They can protect themselves.
Well, you know, Megan, that seems to be the go-to protection source there, is to get it on tape. If you feel like something is about to happen to you, especially if it's a crime about to be committed against you, get it on tape.
RT correspondent Margaret Howell with the latest in that story. Thank you, Margaret.